There's something really satisfying,
Yeah.
about digging into a character, especially one who seems kind of straightforward at first.
Right, like a standard villain type.
Exactly. But then you start digging, and there's just so much more going on beneath the surface.
Hmm.
So today, that's what we're doing. We are taking a deep dive into the Jackie Chan Adventures universe to really get a handle on one of its most memorable bad guys, Daolon Wong.
And our mission really is pretty straightforward. We've spent a lot of time with the Jackie Chan Adventures wiki, pulling out the key stuff about him.
Everything. Right?
Yeah, pretty much everything. His dark ambitions, his, well, weird little quirks, and honestly, some of those incredibly funny ways he gets defeated.
Oh, yeah.
The goal here is for you to walk away really understanding what makes this guy tick. What makes him such a great villain and sometimes such a frustrating one for the heroes.
Think of this as your sort of express lane to understanding this master of dark chi. The problems he caused, the challenges he faced, and just the unique, sometimes really bizarre spot he occupies in that whole good versus evil fight.
Definitely bizarre sometimes.
Okay, let's unpack this. So starting with the basics. Daolon Wong, who is he?
Well, at his core, he's this wizard, right?
Uh,
A former Dark Chi master. And his whole focus really is getting more power and, spreading evil.
He pops up in season 2, kind of a recurring threat, but then season 3, he's the main event, the big bad.
Absolutely. And he picks up a few nicknames along the way. Finn calls him Big D,
Mm-hmm.
and Jade calls him Anti-Uncle or even Rigor Mortis. Pretty descriptive.
Shows he had a knack for names.
Right.
But his look, too, is really specific.
Oh, totally. Picture this. He's like really skinny, old guy, super pale skin, long gray hair, gray goatee.
And the fingernails.
Well,
Long chipped ones. Creepy.
Right. But the standout things are probably the heterochromia. So one teal blue eye, one dark yellow eye. And he's got these 2 facial tattoos. One is described, kind of funny, as a Harry Potter-style lightning bolt over his left eye.
Reading about his look, there was one detail that just jumped out at me. So pretty wild. Kind of disturbing, actually.
Let me guess. The palms. The
Yeah.
mouth's on his palms.
Yes, exactly that. Tell us about those. I mean, what a strange, unsettling detail.
Yeah, it's really something. And they're not just for decoration. He mainly uses them to, well, suck the chi out of other magic users. Just
Ah.
imagine that. Reaching out and a mouth opens on your hand to drain someone's life force, essentially. It's a very visceral image, really hammers home how power hungry he is.
It really does.
And speaking of his look, it actually changes slightly in season 3. His clothes get darker, his hair gets this black outline. It's subtle, but it kind of reflects his ramped up role as the lead villain that season.
Okay, so that's the look. Let's shift to his personality. Because he's not just, generically evil. What's his main driving force?
I'd say, without a doubt, it's his absolute dedication to darkness. Like, upholding the dark side and the balance of good and evil. He genuinely takes massive pride in being the most malevolent of dark Chi masters.
It's like his job title and his life's mission rolled into one.
Exactly. He sees it as this cosmic duty he has to fulfill.
And he's definitely willing to get his hands dirty or, well, use his magic violently. The sources mention him planning to kill innocent animals, for instance.
Multiple times, yeah. And it's confirmed he did kill Chi Master Pham, who was Uncle's teacher, so he's not afraid to kill.
But then there's this weird contradiction, right? Where he seems to value keeping bargains with other dark beings. He even calls Shendu his brother in darkness. Like there's some kind of twisted honor code.
Maybe less honor code and more pragmatism.
Yeah.
He understands there's a bigger picture, a larger game for the forces of darkness, and this is actually kind of interesting. It sets him apart. Well, unlike a lot of villains who are just out for themselves, he seems motivated by this idea of perpetuating a common cause for evil. It's not just about him getting powerful, it's about advancing the overall agenda of darkness.
That's a really good point. It makes him feel, I don't know, almost more dangerous in a way. Like someone with an ideology is harder to predict or reason with than someone just driven by greed.
Right. But then tied into all that is this massive air.
Oh, absolutely. Super
Yeah.
condescending. He acts like he knows everything, and his power is absolute.
And what's fascinating is he keeps that confidence even when his powers are taken away.
Yeah. Which makes you wonder, right? Is his belief in his own power almost as important as the magic itself? Or is it just, massive self-delusion?
It's a great question. It definitely suggests that maybe his view of his own omnipotence is, well, maybe a bit exaggerated. His conviction is there, absolutely, but reality keeps tripping him up.
And speaking of reality tripping him up,
Mm.
his defeats. They are legendary.
Oh, they really are.
The source material calls them humiliating, random, unpredictable, sometimes downright miraculous. And it's usually because the chants get involved or just some completely random factor he didn't account for.
We've got some classic examples, like his huge attack on the Ben Shui temple. Totally pointless because he thought Toru was the chosen one, and, well, he wasn't.
Right.
Or Jade. Using that growth potion and just, like, easily stomping his dark chi warriors flat.
That sounds about right for Jade.
And remember when he finally got the talismans, or thought he did? They turned into useless rocks because Jade had accidentally absorbed their powers earlier? Talk about bad luck.
Total cosmic irony.
But maybe the best one, the absolute peak of bizarre defeats. He got personally headbutted by one of Santa Claus's reindeer.
Okay, wait, hold on. Chuckle slightly. A reindeer from Santa's sleigh headbutted him.
Yep. During his attempt to steal Santa's good chi, a reindeer took him out.
Wow. I mean, can a villain even recover their dignity after that? It really puts his whole most malevolent dark chi master thing in perspective, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
So what does it mean when this incredibly powerful ancient wizard gets taken down by stuff like that? By, potion mishaps and festive animals?
It's interesting because it makes him less purely terrifying, right? It injects that Jackie Chan Adventures humor and lightheartedness. He becomes almost like comically pathetic in those moments.
The Wile E. Coyote effect?
Exactly. It means he's a serious threat, for sure. But the heroes in the audience know he can be beaten, often in really silly ways. It keeps things fun, stops it getting too bleak.
Right. So he's got this mix. Serious dark power, but also this potential for almost cartoonish failure. How does that play out in his relationships, especially with Uncle, his main enemy, and his employees?
Well, with Uncle, Daolon Wong definitely sees him as the primary opponent. But he's incredibly dismissive, calls him a novice, just totally arrogant about it, even though Uncle is consistently the one stopping him.
Quite a contrast to how he initially treated Shendu.
Oh, completely. With Shendu, it was Lord Shendu, brother of darkness, all very respectful, until Shendu betrayed him, of course. Then the respect vanished pretty fast.
And then there are the enforcers, Finn, Ratzone, Chow. His leadership style there is, harsh.
Harsh is putting it mildly. The wiki calls him a harsher taskmaster than basically any other villain they worked for. And remember, Valmont was pretty demanding.
Yeah, good point.
Wong didn't just hire them, he enslaved them, demanded total obedience. And he wasn't above using violence, both verbal and physical.
Like turning Ratsu into furniture.
Exactly. Turned him into an ottoman because he brought the wrong kind of tea. And he apparently mangled their bodies if they spoke out of turn. It shows a real sadistic streak under all that talk about cosmic balance.
He even tried replacing them with the Ninja-Con for a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, that didn't last long. He went back to the enforcers. And he brought in Hawk Fu. Seemed impressed at first, but then quickly started blaming him when things went wrong. He made it very clear. He's their master, not their boss. It's all about that absolute control for him.
That need for control and his arrogance.
It ties into his fondness for dramatics and gloating, which, as we said, often bites him back.
But he can also turn on the charm, apparently.
Yeah. Paradoxically, he can be charismatic and a good actor when he needs to be. That's how he managed to infiltrate the Ben Shui temple initially, and how he got released from prison for good behavior.
Which seems suspiciously fast.
Right. Maybe just a few months. A master manipulator when he wants to be, not just a master of dark chi.
Okay, so we've got this really complex picture of him now.
Mm-hmm.
His power, his arrogance, his weird defeats, his cruelty. How did his actual story arc play out across the show? Let's track his main plots.
All right. So season 2 is his introduction. He's hunting the Chosen One, thinks it's Toru, big mistake.
Right.
He has that big magic duel with Uncle, and that's when he drops the bombshell. Oh yeah, I'm the guy who beat your teacher, Chi Master Fong. Just casually mentions it.
Cold.
Later in the season, he goes after the Three Wise Monkeys idol, only to get hit by its curse himself. Another ironic defeat.
Seems to be a pattern.
Then season 3, he really steps up. He comes to San Francisco aiming to steal the talismans from Section 13.
But Jackie and Jay destroy them first.
Exactly. So Wong realizes their powers went into the noble animals. Since his own dark chi warriors were trapped by then, he forces the enforcers to help him hunt these animals down.
He actually gets some, right?
He does. He manages to nab the pig power levitation and the rooster power telekinesis. He also tries to ruin Christmas by stealing Santa's good chi. That's when the reindeer incident happened.
Ah, the infamous headbutt.
But the real turning point in Season 3 is Shendu's betrayal. Wong is just about to get the dragon power, the most powerful one, and Shendu swoops in and steals it right from under his nose.
Ouch. Betrayal by his brother in darkness.
Yep. After that, Uncle manages to depower him, and Wong ends up arrested and in prison. End of Season 3, big defeat for him.
But not the end of his story.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Season 4, he tries to break out of prison using Shadowkhan magic. But in doing so, he accidentally wakes up Terakudo, the king of all Shadowkhan.
And Karakuda's just like, who's this guy?
Pretty much. Terakudo is totally unimpressed and just leaves him behind in the prison. But then, somehow, Wong gets released later for good behavior. Still unexplained how that happens so quickly.
Very suspicious.
His final main plot involves chasing the Deja Vu Stone, which sends him and Jackie tumbling through time. And his last appearance is actually kind of funny. He gets dragged off by past versions of the Enforcers during the time travel chaos.
And that's it. We don't see him again after that.
That's his last known appearance. His ultimate fate is, well, up in the air.
Wow. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of his power. Because when he is powered up, he's seriously formidable. He's called an adept wizard, an exceptionally powerful dark chi master.
And he claims to be the most powerful ever. Even Uncle admits Wong's magic far exceeds his own, which is saying something.
That's high praise coming from Uncle.
Though, again, the source material adds that little note. Maybe his abilities are exaggerated, and maybe his victory over Master Fong involves some kind of dirty tactic. So there's always that hint that he might not be quite as unbeatable as he thinks.
Still, his knowledge seems immense. He knows magic that others have forgotten. He recognized Terakudo when Uncle thought Oni were just myths.
And get this, he's the one who gave Uncle the original spell Lo Pei used against Shendu centuries ago.
No way. He gave Uncle the key to beating Shendu. Why would he do that?
Well, it was after Shendu had betrayed him, so presumably it was out of spite to help Uncle seal Shendu away again. But it shows the depth of his ancient magical knowledge.
Okay, that's fascinating. What about his specific spells and techniques?
His go-to move seems to be that ground softening trick. He makes the ground under opponents turn to quicksand, basically. They sink in, then he hardens it again. It works on any surface floors, roads, anything.
Very effective trap.
He also shoots energy blasts from his staff, variable power levels there. He can reverse aging like he did to Velmon. He transformed the Monkey King once. He can create shields, use telekinesis, teleport short distances. A pretty solid toolkit.
And it all comes from his staff.
Mostly, yeah. That staff looks kind of like a gnarled root with a swirling vortex inside. Seems to be the focus, the source of his dark chi magic. It can detect magic, too. Very different from Uncle's, blowfish and lizard approach.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah.
And we have to mention the palm mouths again, that power draining spell.
Right, the chanting, the mouths opening. It's his unique way of absorbing chi, though apparently Jackie stopped him once by just throwing dirt in his hand. Made the mouth cough.
Classic Jackie. Always finding the simple, practical solution.
He also had those dark chi warriors early on, Gan, Ren, and Shui. They were tough, could actually beat Jackie one-on-one.
But they got trapped.
Yep. Which is why he ended up stuck with the less-than-stellar enforcers and Hawk Fu later. Oh, and he summoned a huge building-sized ogre once, but only that one time. Seems like a power he didn't use often.
Now what about his physical weakness? He looks so frail.
He does, but he's surprisingly durable. He takes kicks from Jackie, heat vision blasts from one of the demon sorcerer's sons, gets squashed by Toru, takes that reindeer headbutt, and just gets up again.
Maybe some kind of magical protection? It doesn't quite add up otherwise.
Could be. It's never really explained, but he definitely tanks more damage than you'd expect. Of course, by the end of Season 3, he lost most of those powers, and his attempts to get them back or escape just kept failing.
Okay, let's round things off with some fun facts, some trivia about Daolon Wong.
All right, here's one. He's the only main antagonist in the whole series who never uses physical attacks or martial arts. Purely magic. Which is pretty unique for a show starring Jackie Chan.
Good point. Totally reliant on his chi.
And here's a cool behind-the-scenes bit. He's voiced by the legendary James Hong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, who famously played another iconic evil wizard, Lo Pan, in Big Trouble in Little China.
That's perfect casting. You can definitely hear echoes of Lo Pan and Wong's voice.
Totally. Also, a minor detail. His staff looks slightly different between Season 2 and Season 3. Maybe it got damaged in one of his fights or defeats.
Now, this one is really weird. When Jade sees his astral spirit form, his insides are apparently filled with screaming spirits of unknown origin.
Yeah, what is that about? The source just drops that line and moves on. Are they souls he consumed? Dark entities powering him. It's a really unsettling, mysterious image. Adds a layer of grim darkness.
Seriously creepy.
And maybe the most intriguing piece of trivia, tying back to his last appearance, Daolon Wong is the only major villain whose ultimate fate is left completely unknown.
Really, unlike all the others.
Yep. Drago, the demon sorcerers, Terrakudo, they all got sealed away or definitively defeated and trapped. But Wong, he gets dragged off by the past Dark Hand during that time travel episode, and that's it. We never find out what happened to him after Jackie altered that past event. He just sort of vanishes from the established timeline.
Wow. So he could still be out there somewhere, somehow.
Technically, yeah. It leaves his story open-ended in a way none of the others are.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, Daolon Wong, he's this incredible mix, isn't he? Immense dark power, almost terrifying arrogance.
But also this weird vulnerability to just random, completely humiliating, almost slapstick defeats.
Right. And that motivation you mentioned about upholding darkness as a common cause, not just for himself.
Yeah, that makes him more complex than just your average power-hungry bad guy.
Yeah.
He has this twisted sense of purpose, and that unknown fate just adds to his mystique. Did he ever find a way back? Did the balance of power shift without him? We just don't know.
But it leaves you thinking. In a world like Jackie Chan Adventures, where even this supposedly ultimate dark power can be undone by, a growth potion or a headbutting reindeer. What does that say? Maybe about chaos versus order, or just how important it is to be adaptable, maybe even lucky when you're facing overwhelming evil.
Definitely something to chew on. Even the darkest chai isn't immune to a bit of random absurdity.
Something to mull over until our next deep dive.